I want you to picture a woman named Margaret. She was 74 years old, sharp mind, retired school teacher, the kind of woman who still arranged flowers every Sunday morning and called her grandchildren every night before bed. She had done everything right. She walked 30 minutes every day. She took her blood pressure medication without fail. She even cut back on salt after her doctor warned her 3 years ago. And yet, one Tuesday afternoon, while sitting in her kitchen, she started to feel dizzy. A heaviness settled behind her chest. By the time the ambulance arrived, Margaret had suffered a mild cardiac event. She looked at me from the hospital bed with tears in her eyes and said, "Doctor, I did everything you told me. How did this happen?" I asked her one simple question, "Margaret, tell me how you drink your water." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean? I drink water like everyone else." And that was exactly the problem. You see, for over 2 decades in cardiology and internal medicine, I have sat across from hundreds of patients just like Margaret, people who exercised, watched their diet, took their medication, and still ended up in crisis. And in far too many of those cases, I traced part of the problem back to something so ordinary, so invisible, that nobody ever thought to address it. The way they were drinking water. Not whether they drank water, not how much, but how, when, and in what pattern. But here's what nobody told Margaret, and what nobody may have told you. After the age of 60, your heart and your blood vessels respond to water in a way that is completely different from when you were younger. And drinking the wrong way at the wrong times, in the wrong amounts, can quietly put enormous strain on your heart without you ever feeling a single warning sign. Until the day you do. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which water drinking habits are quietly working against your heart after 60 Sautorikint, and you're going to have 5 simple adjustments you can start tonight. No medications, no complicated routines, no gym, just small, practical changes to something you already do every single day. And I want you to stay with me all the way to step 4, because what I share there is something that most doctors, including cardiologists, rarely bring up in regular appointments. It surprised even me the first time I saw the research behind it. But first, let me show you what is actually happening inside your body. I want you to imagine your blood vessels as garden hoses. When you are young, say in your 30s, those hoses are soft, flexible, and wide open. Water flows through them easily, pressure stays balanced, the pump at the center, your heart, does not have to work very hard, but here is what happens after 60. Those hoses start to stiffen, the walls become less elastic, they cannot expand and contract as smoothly as they once did. And your kidneys, the organs that regulate how much fluid stays in your bloodstream, start working a little more slowly. They do not filter and balance fluid as efficiently as they did at 40. Now add water to this picture. If you drink too much water in a short period of time, say a full glass or 2 very quickly, you flood that system. Your bloodstream suddenly holds more volume than it can comfortably handle. The stiff hoses cannot expand to accommodate it, so the pressure inside shoots up, and your heart, which is already working harder in an older body, has to pump against that increased pressure. Every beat becomes more effortful. If this happens repeatedly, day after day, week after week, it contributes to what we call chronically elevated cardiovascular strain. Over time, that is the kind of silent stress that increases your risk of hypertension, atrial fibrillation, and even heart failure. On the other side, drink too little water or go too long between drinks, and the opposite problem emerges. Your blood becomes thicker and more concentrated. Think of it like thickening soup. The heart still has to pump it, but now it is pumping something more sluggish. Blood moves slower. The risk of clots rises. The risk of stroke climbs. The window for what is correct becomes narrower as we age. And most people over 60 are unknowingly living outside that window every single day. I want to be direct with you. I have spent more than 25 years in clinical medicine. First as a resident in internal medicine, then specializing in cardiology and geriatric cardiac care. I have been in operating theaters. I have held conversations in ICUs that no one should have to have. And over the course of thousands of patient interactions, I began noticing something that the research was only slowly starting to confirm. The basics we overlook, the habits so ordinary they feel beneath discussion, are often the ones doing the most quiet damage. How we sleep, how we breathe, how we move in the morning, and yes, how we drink water. This is not a trend, this is physiology. And the older you are, the more it matters. What most people don't realize is that fixing this doesn't require a prescription or a specialist's appointment. It requires paying attention to something you do automatically dozens of times a day without thinking. Here are the 5 adjustments that I walk my own patients through. Let me ask you something. When you wake up in the morning, or when you sit down after a walk, do you pour yourself a large glass of water and drink it straight down in one go? Most people do. It feels refreshing. It feels like the right thing to do. After 60, your target should be no more than 4 to 6 ounces of water, roughly half a regular glass at any one time. Sip slowly. Let 2 to 3 minutes pass between larger sips. Do not gulp. Remember those stiffened garden hoses we talked about? When you pour a large amount of liquid into a rigid system, quickly pressure spikes. A small, slow, steady flow is what your cardiovascular system can actually manage gracefully. Sipping gives your kidneys time to start processing before the next wave arrives. I had a patient, a retired engineer named Charles, 71 years old, who was developing high blood pressure that his medication was barely touching. We reviewed everything. Diet was fine, sleep was decent. Then I asked about his water habits. He told me he drank a full liter of water first thing every morning, all at once, because he read it was good for his metabolism. We changed that one habit. Within 8 weeks, his morning blood pressure readings had dropped by 11 points, 4 to 6 ounces per sitting, no more than 1 full glass in a single 10-minute window. Aim for slow, steady intake across the day rather than large volumes at once. If you are on diuretic medication, speak with your doctor before adjusting your water timing significantly. Fluid balance in that context requires medical supervision. How do you usually drink your water in the morning? Tell me in the comments. I read them. Your answer might help someone else watching. After a brisk walk, after climbing stairs, after any exertion, what do you reach for? For many of us, the instinct is ice-cold water, and it makes sense intuitively. You're hot. You want something cold. After any physical activity or emotional stress, yes, emotional stress counts, drink water that is room temperature or slightly warm. Wait at least 5 minutes after your activity before drinking, and when you do, sip slowly. Your heart rate is elevated after exertion. Your blood vessels are dilated trying to cool your body down. Introducing very cold water in this state triggers a reflex called vagal stimulation. In simple terms, cold sends a shock signal through your nervous system that can cause the heart to temporarily slow or flutter. In a younger heart, this is usually harmless. In an older heart, particularly one with any degree of coronary artery disease, it can trigger arrhythmia, which is an irregular heartbeat. I have seen this pattern in more patients than I can count. A 68-year-old woman named Dorothy came to me after 2 unexplained episodes of heart palpitations. Both happened in the afternoon, after her daily garden walk. We eventually identified the trigger. She was drinking a glass of ice-cold water the moment she came inside, still flushed from the heat. We switched her to room temperature water taken 5 minutes after coming indoors. The palpitations stopped. Wait 5 minutes post-activity. Drink room temperature or warm water. Temperature between 60 degrees Fahrenheit and 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, is the safe range. Avoid anything from the refrigerator during the first 10 minutes of post-exercise recovery. Have you ever noticed your heart racing or skipping after drinking cold water? Drop a comment below. You might be surprised how many people share this experience. Let me ask you this honestly. Do you avoid drinking water in the hours before bed because you don't want to wake up to use the bathroom? I hear this from patients constantly, and I understand the logic, but that decision, made every night for years, may be quietly raising your risk of a nighttime cardiac event. Drink 4 ounces of water, about half a small glass, approximately 45 to 60 minutes before you go to bed. Not more, not less. Just enough to ensure you're not going to sleep in a mildly dehydrated state. Here's what most people do not realize about nighttime and the heart. Between 2 and 6 in the morning, blood pressure naturally rises. This is called the morning cortisol surge. In a well-hydrated body, blood flows smoothly during this window. In a dehydrated body, blood has thickened slightly overnight. The heart is working harder to pump it. And this is the window in which most heart attacks and strokes occur. Gentle pre-sleep hydration keeps the blood at the right consistency for that vulnerable nighttime period. I have had patients who were hospitalized after nighttime cardiac events. When we reviewed their habits, dehydration, not severe, just mild, the kind you never notice, was a consistent underlying factor. Something as simple as 4 ounces before bed could have made a difference. 4 ounces, 45 to 60 minutes before bed, no more to avoid disrupting sleep. You want the body gently hydrated going into its most vulnerable hours, not overloaded. If you have heart failure or kidney disease, your doctor may have specific fluid restrictions. Do not change nighttime fluid intake without consulting your physician. Do you restrict water before bed? I'd love to know. Comment yes or no below. It helps me understand what information is most needed. Now, what I'm about to share next is something most doctors don't even talk about, not because they don't know it, but because it sounds too simple to be significant. But the research behind step 4 genuinely changed how I advise my patients. Please do not skip this part. Be honest with me. What is the very first thing you drink in the morning? For a huge number of people over 60, the answer is coffee, maybe tea. The water comes later, if it comes at all. Before any caffeinated beverage, drink 6 ounces of plain water. Not sparkling, not flavored, plain water. Take 5 to 10 minutes to drink it slowly, then wait another 10 minutes before your coffee or tea. While you sleep, your body loses fluid through respiration and minor perspiration. You wake up in a mild state of dehydration every single morning. This is completely normal. But here's the issue. Caffeine is a diuretic. It causes your kidneys to release more fluid. If your first act of the morning is to drink coffee on an already slightly dehydrated system, you are deepening that dehydration during the very window when your blood pressure is naturally climbing. You are essentially telling your heart to push thicker blood through stiffer pipes, harder, faster, at the worst possible time of day. Plain water first rehydrates the blood, brings viscosity back to normal, and gives your heart a gentler start. It takes 6 ounces and 10 minutes. That is the entire intervention. A patient of mine, a former Army officer named James, 76, had been waking up with headaches and elevated morning blood pressure for over a year. He had 2 cups of strong coffee within 15 minutes of waking every day. I asked him to try one thing only, 6 ounces of water before his first cup of coffee every morning for 2 weeks. His wife called me on day 11 to say his morning headaches had stopped. His blood pressure log showed an average drop of 9 points at his first morning reading. 6 ounces of plain water, before any caffeine. Allow 10 to 15 minutes before your first coffee or tea. Repeat every morning. This is a non-negotiable routine after 60. What do you drink first in the morning? Let me know in the comments. If you try water first for just 1 week, come back and tell me what you notice. I mean that seriously. How do most people think about daily water intake? They hear 8 glasses a day and try to hit that number by the time they go to bed, which often means drinking 3 glasses at dinner to catch up. Sound familiar? Use what I call the clock method. From waking until 7 p.m., set a gentle intention to drink a small amount, 4 to 6 ounces, roughly every 90 minutes. After 7 p.m., allow fluid intake to taper naturally. Your last meaningful drink is that pre-sleep 4 ounces, 45 to 60 minutes before bed. Distributed hydration keeps your blood volume steady all day. It prevents the pressure spikes that come with large volumes and avoids the thickening that comes from long gaps. Your heart never faces an extreme in either direction. It is the difference between a steady, gentle stream and an unpredictable flood and drought cycle. After 60, steady is everything. I worked with a woman named Helen, 70, who came to me fatigued, dizzy, and experiencing irregular heartbeats. When we charted her fluid intake, the pattern was clear. Almost nothing until midday, then a large amount in the evening. Her system was cycling between mild dehydration and mild overload every single day. We put her on the clock method. Within 6 weeks, her energy improved, her dizziness resolved, and her cardiogram showed a significant reduction in the frequency of her ectopic heartbeats. 4 to 6 ounces every 90 minutes from waking to 7 p.m., total daily intake of 48 to 64 ounces, 6 to 8 cups, spread evenly. After 7 p.m., water tapers. Bedtime, 4 ounces, 45 to 60 minutes before sleep. Let me tie this together. Because everything I have shared comes back to one central idea. After 60, your cardiovascular system can no longer absorb extremes. It cannot handle sudden floods of fluid. It cannot handle long stretches without water. It cannot handle cold, shocks to a working heart. It cannot handle dehydrated blood during the night's most vulnerable hours. The answer is not a different water. It is not a supplement. It is not a complicated protocol. It is a steady, gentle, consistent relationship with hydration. Spread across the day, timed thoughtfully, delivered in amounts your heart can actually manage. Blood flow, vessel flexibility, heart pressure. These three things are what we are protecting every time we make a smart choice about how we drink. Margaret, the retired school teacher I told you about at the beginning, she did recover fully. After her hospital stay, I sat down with her and walked her through exactly the kind of changes I have shared with you today. We talked about sipping, not gulping, about morning water before coffee, about going to bed gently hydrated, about not reaching for ice-cold water after her evening walks. 3 months later, she came to her follow-up appointment and told me something I will not forget. She said, "Doctor, I feel better now than I did at 65. How is that possible?" I told her it was possible because she had stopped treating her heart like it was still 30. She had started listening to what her body actually needed at 74. Then she said it. The line I hear from patients all the time, and it still moves me every single time. She said, "Why didn't anyone tell me this sooner?" I could not give her a good answer, but I can give you this video. Let me make this simple. Sip, do not gulp. No more than 4 to 6 ounces at one time. Let your cardiovascular system receive water gradually. Avoid cold water after exertion. Give your heart 5 minutes to settle, then drink room temperature water. Drink 4 ounces of water 45 to 60 minutes before bed. Do not go to sleep dehydrated. Drink plain water before your morning coffee. 6 ounces first, every single morning. Use the clock method. Spread water across the day every 90 minutes and taper after 7 p.m. Now I want to say something important before you close this video. Do not try to do all 5 of these at once. Pick one, just one. The one that feels most natural, most urgent, most connected to something you've already noticed in yourself. Start there. Do it for a week. Let it become automatic. Then add another. Small, consistent changes in how we care for the body after 60 are exponentially more powerful than large, dramatic overhauls that fade after 3 days. Your heart does not need a revolution. It needs reliable kindness, daily, gentle, consistent care. Which one of these 5 steps are you going to start with? Tell me in the comments. Whether it is morning water first or simply slowing down your sipping, I want to know. And if you have already been doing one of these, tell me that too. Your experience matters to people who are watching and trying to figure out where to begin. If you know someone over 60, a parent, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor, who still drinks water the way they did at 40, please share this video with them. You might not know what difference it makes, but their heart will. If this kind of honest, practical health information is what you are looking for, no hype, no products, just real clinical knowledge explained in plain language, then consider subscribing. I release videos like this regularly, and I promise you every single one is designed to help you live better in the body you have right now.